Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to be doing episode 3 of the Acolyte today. I did not rewatch this episode. I just don't care to. It was not my favorite episode, I'll put it that way. I did not take any notes. This is going to be kind of a rambly type, spoilery discussion about the episode. I will say I am not as, like, I don't want to call it nitpicky because I don't necessarily agree with that. Um, I'm not as nitpicky about it as maybe some would be, but I'll just go ahead and say it. All in all, I did this episode. I did not enjoy it. It wasn't very interesting. I didn't find it like you could have just not had this episode, and I almost think it would have been better. So let's get into it. So this is the flashback episode, 16 years prior, and you're following the two twin girls. One of them clearly has some problems, and the other one has a more of an optimistic, curious outlook on life. And I'll just say it up front: I don't think these actresses were doing a particularly good job, so it was almost kind of taking me out of it. And I'm not the most like whatever about child actors because they are children, so they're not there yet. But something about this felt particularly off, and maybe it's because they had so many of these scenes of them like bickering back and forth, and it just felt fake and artificial. Um, so that already was kind of taking me out of it. Uh, I know a lot of people are having problem with all the women and the two moms and all of that stuff, but given the context of these being witches, does it matter? No, we've already been shown that the witches are females. Imagine that. And that if there were men, that at least on Dathomir, the witches kind of ruled over the men. So I don't really care about any of that. Some people may have a problem with the fact that they talk about the fact that these twins were like created. Um, Sorry, there's a freaking gnat flying around or a fly. Um, and I guess like through witch magic, she was just kind of poofed. I don't know. And that one of these women carried them like a normal pregnancy. So I don't really know. Um, but the whole purpose of this episode was showing that they were supposed to go through what the witches refer to as an ascension to, I guess, become full blown witches and have that power. But then they showed that clearly they had the power, and then the Jedi take Osha, so it shows like it's the Force. But is it the Force or is it like witch magic? I don't know. I'm rather confused. Um, so I know people have talked about them messing with the status quo of the Force and how it works and all of this kind of stuff. Um, but I'm more so just interpreting it as witch magic. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. I know it's the same more or less, but whatever. So I'm just gonna wash over that because I don't even think that that is from an average viewer's perspective the biggest problem in this episode. I think there's two big problems with this episode. Um, but the Jedi show up. They know there's kids there, so they're hunting down these kids. They're going out of their way to find these like 8, 9-year-old kids, even though this is one of the big problems that in the prequels, the chosen one, that they were forbidden. They could not train him because he was too old. But they went out of their way to go find these kids. And who's to say that maybe that rule didn't come from scenarios like this happening, that they lowered the age bar or something? I'm not entirely sure. But it feels a bit strange that these Jedi are specifically on this planet looking for these kids. Uh, but that's the story that they gave us. So Osha clearly wants to go and take the test. So they go to take the test. They're told to lie, but she gets caught lying. So she's going to become a Jedi. She passed the test. She decides it. She has a good scene with her mom, and her mom is like, if that's what you want, then that's what you want. Cool, cool. So, like, they're not terrible people, at least her mom. Um, but May has to throw a fit and is so mad about it. And she goes from we're two of the same people to I'm gonna kill you, like really quickly. So that escalated quickly. Um, so she locks Osha in this room and takes like the equivalent of like a small lantern and throws it on this stone floor with this metal door and stone walls and everything, and it like is engulfed in flames very quickly. So so Osha crawls through this little tunnel. What feels like a minute maybe has passed since the initial like fire was started, and she gets out and everything is obliterated. This one little lantern, or was there other stuff happening? Were the Jedi fighting people? Maybe we're going to find out more about that, because what they showed us makes zero sense at all, and it is so like jarringly not believable that they would have been better off just not showing us. Because if they couldn't find a convincing way to show us that May caused this thing that killed the whole family and that they were all convinced that she was dead, they just shouldn't have showed us, because our imagination would have filled that in anyways. We didn't need it. It's not like it added anything, unless part of what they were going to show us was that the Jedi kind of started this and instigated it to try to get these children, like they were going to try to cause this thing to happen so they didn't have any other choice. Then maybe then that would have been fine, and that would explain why Tobin had taken the vow to atone. But as of right now, why on earth would he have taken the vow to atone? Because they didn't have anything to do with anything. Unless we're gonna get more, because like at the end of the episode, you see Tobin has the scars on his face. So maybe they were involved and they just didn't bother showing us in this episode. But if they were involved, why wouldn't they show us instead of just leaving us with a bad taste in our mouth? I don't know. It just seems like many, many, many poor decisions back to back to back to back, which culminates in this just flat, frustrated feeling. And as a Star Wars The Old Republic player, something we'll talk about all the time, being very frustrated with that game and its content pacing, and you try to be optimistic, and but every time something comes out, you're just kind of like disappointed. So like you're not angry, you're just flat. And that seems to be the same feeling that we're getting these days with almost any content that's released, if it's released at all, because half the stuff that they announce they don't ever release anyway. So you can't get excited about anything. And it's getting increasingly more frustrating to be a part of. I'm still semi optimistic about the show as a whole, but like when you have episodes like this, which even just zooming out and not accounting for the lore aspect at all, and you're just taking the events that they showed us and the sense that they made and the writing and all of that kind of stuff and how not good it was, it's hard to be optimistic about that kind of stuff. So God, I don't know. Rating, I mean, again, with 5 being average, 3, 4 maybe at most, 3 probably. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I'm hoping that we go forward from here. I'm curious to see some sort of lightsaber fights, because the choreography seemed pretty good. Um, but I have a feeling we're probably going to get some more flashback stuff. Maybe not a whole episode again, but I'm sure there's more coming. So I apologize for this being a little bit more of a down episode. I'm sure I missed stuff, but I'm rather deflated after that episode. So I apologize if I missed some stuff. Um, please let me let me know in the comments what the general consensus is, because believe me, I'm not an overly negative Star Wars fan, but I'm just a little disappointed. So uh, I guess that's gonna do it for this one. I appreciate you guys being here. I will see you guys next week. See ya.